Welcome to Morally Offensive, a podcast that's really into nun stuff.
Oh, no.
I'm Bill.
I'm Jess.
And today we're talking about Jeff Baena and Aubrey Plaza's reinterpretation of a bawdy, blasphemous Renaissance-era literary classic.
This is a podcast about the films condemned or considered morally offensive by the Catholic Church.
We both grew up Catholic, and now we're not for reasons, but we are still fascinated by the religion that raised us. The films we cover are selected from the official film review lists of the Legion of Decency, Rest in Peace, and the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops. I'm a motion graphics designer, editor, and DJ.
And I am an instructional designer with a PhD in film and television studies.
And together, we are on a journey to watch every film condemned or considered morally offensive. We are once again joined by our guest, Syd King, actor, writer, comedian, and SNL stand-in. Thank you for joining us again, Syd. I was talking to Jess a few weeks ago. I was telling her that I was texting you being like, am I crazy or are you sitting next to Ryan Gosling on TV right now?
You weren't crazy. I have sat next to Ryan Gosling. I've been doing it for also I do background, not only stand-in. So if you're watching it, you can see me I've been on planes, I've been to prom, I've been an orphan, I've been a saloon girl.
Excellent.
I'm very lucky. I've been there for 5 years. So
wow.
Yeah, it's random, beautiful New York little side gig I get to have. But I did get to stand in during the 50th anniversary special taping. And so I was sitting behind Seth Meyers watching Paul Simon and Sabrina Carpenter do soundcheck. And
Whoa.
I was getting paid to be there. And I was like, this is the craziest thing that's ever happened to me.
That's so crazy. Congratulations on that gig.
Oh, thanks. It's luck in the way that it's random to be there, but I do other acting stuff. And yeah, they've been very good to me for my time. But yeah, look at my face now, clock it, and then you'll see it.
You'll recognize her randomly when because we hadn't really talked directly. I just seen you you had hit me up and I'd seen your Instagram and your play stuff. And I was just immediately I could be crazy, but I think that is Syd, our future guest. And I was like, yep,
yeah.
Yep. Okay. You just have a unique face. I guess I recognized you. It's cool.
Thank you. I feel like I get hired because I don't have a unique face. I kind of have this plain, any age, any time period thing going on.
Maybe that's it. Maybe it's the very easily castable face.
Yeah. I can play younger, which everyone's like, you'll appreciate it when you're older. I'm like, I've always appreciated it. I think you are mad that I am like this. So you're telling me I'll appreciate it when I'm older. Jess, I feel like you look young. Do you get this a lot?
I do. I mean, I'm pushing 40 and I still get carded when I buy alcohol. So.
And can I get a hell yeah?
Yeah.
Love
right?
that.
And
yeah.
every time they're like, you're going to appreciate when you're older. I'm like, I already am older.
I've always looked older. So when I did theater in college, I always got, if there was an old person in a play, it's well, Bill's playing the old guy, So I've been 40 since I was 20, basically.
I mean, I got carded buying violent video, NC-17 video games till I was around 26, 27.
Naughty. Why were you doing? What were you buying? Jesus.
I mean, Call of Duty is.
Okay, yeah, I guess it is. Yeah, you're killing people.
I'm not buying anything like that.
My head.
Yeah, are you going to do a spin-off, morally offensive video games?
We should, because when we did Mortal Kombat, I pitched the idea of trying to fundraise on Twitch by us playing Spiritual Warfare. The Nintendo game that's a ripoff of Zelda, where you try to convert heathens and prostitutes with fruit.
What?
That might have to be in our future. Do a video game.
I love that.
That would be so fun. The Atari ones where literally all they could do is have a penis that just shoots things at people. So bad.
Well, I'm good to go. I'm riding that high now that Syd said I look young. So
hell yeah. Well, let's do this. The way we do this lately is we've broken the movies down into 2 or 3 acts, try to kind of just summarize each section of the movie, and then we talk about it. And then we go on to the next section. It's an easy way to kind of break it down, to kind of keep track of where everything is. So for the first act of the movie, I'm going to kind of just explain what happens for those of you who maybe haven't seen the movie. If you have not seen the movie and don't want spoilers, maybe go see it and come back after we've done this. In 14th century Italy, 3 nuns, Alessandra, Fernanda, and Ginevra, live in an isolated convent marked by boredom, hostility, and a lack of discipline. Father Tommaso and Mother Maria oversee the convent and the goings-on there. Meanwhile, a servant named Messetto flees his master, played by Nick Offerman, and is brought to the convent, where he poses as a deaf-mute to avoid detection. So what do we think about the first third of this movie? It really opens strong. I mean, I was not prepared for Nuns throwing down F-bombs that way.
Yes, I mean, tense scenes right from the beginning. I mean, you kind of can tell right off the bat that Aubrey Plaza's character, Sister Fernanda, is maybe a little bit of a bully.
Yeah.
Also, maybe has a secret. Is harassing the groundskeeper and the farmer right off the bat. And then, like Syd talked about earlier, we have that scene later on with all three women harassing the groundskeeper. But we see Aubrey Plaza kind of cements herself as the leader of the pack.
I do love the way this movie opens. It almost feels like a 70s Renaissance vibe movie. It's shot very naturalistically. It's got really great typography. The music supervision on this is fantastic. It sets the tone really well. And it's interesting. This film goes between very pastoral to very crude, very crass language and behavior. And I kind of like that contrast now. I wasn't sure what to make of it the first time I saw the movie, personally.
Oh, I loved it. It sets the tone immediately, and you're like, oh, this anachronistic improv-y energy is right there off the bat. I mean, I think you can tell the director's touch from the jump. But I will say, the first time I saw it, I went, oh no. Oh no, I shouldn't be watching this. It's inappropriate.
Yeah, we definitely felt bad the first time I think I watched it. The first time I watched it, I think I was just like, this feels so over the top and like a little too much maybe from these nuns. But now watching it, I'm kind of like, well, in the context, I get what they're doing now more. It's Boccaccio wrote the Decameron in the vernacular, in like the crude language of the working class, not in Latin.
Right.
So it was seen as being very crude and like vernacular, and it would have felt this way to people when it came out. So from my perspective, it makes a lot of sense that he did it this way, and it reads the way it would have read to people back when it was released.
Which is exactly what Baena wanted, right? He didn't want to have, American actors trying to fake these like Florentinian Italian accents. He didn't want to have them doing any harsh like British accents either. Like he just wanted it to be like a contemporary American
like what are you
dialogue.
supposed to do? Do it in Italian, which makes no sense because Florentine Italian would be different than what they were speaking now. Yep. Are you going to have them use like fake British accents like it's A Knight's Tale? That's another comparison I saw a lot with this movie in positive reviews was to A Knight's Tale, just in the sense that it's like this film makes an interesting decision rather than to try to do the whole like fake Shakespeare language. Okay. Instead, just make it the vernacular, which was the intent of Boccaccio in the first place. So I think that really works well in this film. And you don't see that much. Like you don't see this type of thing much in films of, that take place in the Middle Ages.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, kind of going back to thinking about how that's working with the cinematography and mise-en-scène and things like that juxtaposition of that sort of vernacular language being used. But then we have Quinn Tran, who was the cinematographer on this, works like really painstakingly, location shoots, Baena wanted everything to be like really historically accurate. The setting and the convents that they were using, but they were relying on, because they didn't have like electricity at these sites that they were using.
Oh, wow.
So Quinn Tran was like going ahead of time, scouting locations and figuring out timing and things for like sunlight and daylight and where to best be for locations and things like that at these sites, to be using like the sun and just like the type of cameras and things they were using as well, and lenses to really try to also make, which I think a lot of the pastoral shots do look like, medieval like paintings, sort of mimicking that lighting. But I think that's just crazy. And then like at nighttime, like using actual fire and candlelight and stuff for it.
Oh yeah.
And so I think with that too, like when we think about cinematography wise, the first act I see is very thinking again, influence from like Middle Age, medieval paintings, and artwork, thinking about really symmetrical compositions. The shots are kind of pretty static. And I think, again, at this time early on, we have these like disruptions. Aubrey Plaza kind of, cussing, having little ordeals and rants. But it's also the first act is kind of evoking this sense of religious order and tradition and like convent life. Things are a little more austere in the first act. And I think when we look at like the framing and composition, we can kind of see that. And then when we do have those like fights or those moments break through, they stand out even more because they're so anachronistic. So
yeah, such stark contrast to everything else going on. They had to have looked at the Pasolini film because this feels like Italian neorealism from the 70s.
Well, and so
in a lot of ways.
Bana said that he watched with Quintran Altman movies.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, that scans though too. Like something like McCabe and Ms. Miller, where they're shooting with a lot of like candlelight and there's a lot of overlapping dialogue and stuff like that. Yeah, on location.
But I just think it was really cool, like the thought that went into the historical aspects of it, of using these like medieval villages in Tuscany, and that sort of like balancing act of those historical sites with these just like really absurd and comedic performances.
It feels a lot like a lot of the nunsploitation films that were made in Italy in the 70s, because like the whole thing with those movies and films made in France during that period too, that were like exploitation, was they had low budgets. So you let these old castles they just had laying around do the heavy lifting. And sometimes they were like abandoned or like in disrepair, which made it even cooler looking for a movie, right? You're just going minimal set deck. You haven't do any weathering on like a set you built, right? Like that's all built into the structure. So it's actually kind of a cost saving measure. Even though you're filming overseas, you're saving a lot of money by not doing a lot of set build out, because you have these locations that are pretty much made for you.
Right.
Just bringing props.
I was thinking, I know this is a little bit later in the film, but when Alison Brie is working on the loom, and I was like, they had to source 2 of those looms. I couldn't stop thinking about, like, how did they find these ancient looms?
You need a hero loom.
Because the set is so good.
The one thing I found a little confusing is they're supposed to be cloistered nuns. And normally a cloister would have the gardens and things inside of the wall.
The locked garden.
It is locked. Okay.
No, I'm just saying. So that's
okay.
like a motif in medieval art, is the locked garden.
Right.
Yeah.
And the idea is that like they are cloistered, so they can do gardening, they can do farming, but it has to be within the convent walls. And they'd have one rear entrance, and that's how, like, if they needed groceries, you know, if there was something they didn't grow, right? If they need something from town, a priest or somebody delivering stuff could drop it off in this door, and then the nuns could go and get these items and bring them inside. But that way they'd have minimal contact with the outside world. And it's weird because you see it with Paul Reiser at the beginning with his daughter, Alison Brie, and that's how cloistered nuns could speak to people from the outside world, is they had this screen they could talk through.
Right.
So it's a little weird that like they're outside farming and then they have interactions with people, when at a cloister you'd really be walled in. But that's I think that comes down to just like the nature of filming in Italy and trying to find a location that works for this.
Right. Like normally too, like the garden sometimes just have higher walls built around them and stuff like that. But like in medieval art and architecture, usually they would have these like stone walls built around them, and they were symbols of they were hortus conc. I don't even know how to. It's like conclusus or something, but it means like, it's a weird word, but it means locked garden. It's a common motif that you see in Middle Age art, but it's supposed to symbolize like virginity and the Virgin Mary.
Oh, interesting.
And so,
like a chastity belt.
Yes, which is why it's all the more interesting that like they're Alison Brie and, you know, their trysts and things are happening there. They have these arguments happening there.
Right.
All of these like transgressions are happening in this like what's supposed to be this really pure space.
I do love some of the scenes where you can tell they did a little bit of reading on like just day-to-day medieval stuff. Like there's the scene where Alison Brie gets dirty digging the ditch and brings them the laundry. And she's like, I'm just going to do my own laundry. And they say, okay, well, you know, you got to wash it and soak it. And then you got to leave it in the lye or the ash for like a day and come back. And then you got to, and then she just kind of goes to, you know, Kamakuchi is like, I'm just going to, you seem like you're good at this. Why don't you do this?
Right, and there's this shock that she's even doing her own laundry, right? As like the rich girl
She's the rich girl there, which is a really cool thing they show, because like I don't see that very often in movies where like they really delve into the idea of like how the nuns often were from, you know, the upper class. There was a dowry involved in paying for their keep. You know, a dowry like you would pay in a marriage, because you're being essentially wed to the church and Jesus. They'd give you a dowry, and that's why most of the nuns were from very affluent backgrounds. And if you were from an affluent background, you had a better time as a nun. If you weren't, you had a much worse time.
Right. And Alessandra has, like, they find out in their nighttime tryst, which is in the next act, but like the three women, they're drunken, you know, tryst or whatever you want to call it. She has a bigger room. She has more stuff in her room. Yep. But she kind of snaps after that meeting with her dad, right?
Yes.
Where she is kind of the more, I mean, Ginevra's a little narc, We know that.
Yeah.
Right. But
which, you know what? As a girl growing up Catholic, that was like one of my favorite things to do in the world. Sanctioned tattletaling.
Yes. Like you're supposed to. You're doing the Lord's
I
work.
would use confession as an opportunity to tattletale.
But like,
so I identify strongly with Kate Micucci.
You do, yeah. Because I mean, in the end, she definitely gets punished the most,
right?
For all her narking.
Well, it's also like, you know, she was told that's what she was supposed to do. She was like, "This is crazy. You're not supposed to be doing this."
Right.
Like,
you're breaking the rules. And then they get
in trouble, and she's so mad. Or she's not even mad, she's just like confused and sad, and I get that. I get that a lot.
She's hurt, right? She's narking out of hurt feelings and like spurned love, which is a little heartbreaking.
Yeah, well, it's especially if you've never had sex, you're not going to have sex, and then you have a night like that with somebody, and you're like, that meant something, right?
I'm a lesbian.
No, didn't mean anything.
Yeah,
that's gotta hurt. I mean, I know that hurts.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we've all been there.
And like the way they all like at the we can talk about the next act, but like at the witch ceremony at the the bonfire and stuff, the way they're all singling her out and staring at her, right? Also, it's a little heartbreaking. But we do see. I feel
also
like
be bullied in a convent where you really have nowhere to go.
Yes,
that's really tough. That's bleak.
And then if this like group of witches is meant to symbol like this like feminine love and sisterhood, outside of the convent, and you're ostracized from that too, what's left for her?
I feel for her strongly.
Yes.
No, and that's the thing. Like all these people are kind of terrible, but also you understand their motivations.
Right, and I think like with Alessandra in Act 1, she's definitely the most seems the most pious, even though we get that she's like a little nepo baby. That interaction with her dad, I think, is a little heartbreaking because that man does not really love his daughter.
No,
and is just like
shoving her in the convent.
the finger.
Give me some sugar.
Yeah, and just like you're gonna be a spinster, and I've accepted that. You better accept it too.
It was fun seeing Paul Reiser in this for like a scene.
Yeah.
That was cute. Can we talk about how Masetto arrives at the convent? Because I love Nick Offerman in this movie. It's so brief, but that wig is ridiculous.
So
the
he's
wig
Bruno.
with the cap over top.
Yes. But Masetto, I'm saying how Masetto comes to get there is by, he's with Bruno.
Yes.
I also have to note, I watched most of Pasolini's Decameron last night, and he keeps talking about the Guelphs. The Guelphs.
Oh,
that's also a thing in the Pasolini movie. They keep being like those damn Guelphs. I was like, yes, it's continuing.
I want to point out not just the wig, which I'm kind of giving Nick Offerman in the wig at the moment. This is kind of what my hair's doing.
Oh my god, you kind of are. It's not red, but it is kind of.
You don't have the blunt bang though.
I don't have the blunt bangs. Disappointing. But when he has the cap and the sleeping gown on with the cap, and then he comes in and he's yelling, it's like, oh gosh, it's a perfect picture.
Megan Mullally, you are one lucky lady.
That little sleep cap. And also, Lauren Weidman is very funny as Francesca in this.
Yeah.
Again, you're talking about a performance that is anachronistic in the context. I mean, it feels very modern, very like improvised in a way that's very funny, and it's also playing off of, like I said earlier in the last episode, the plot of another story in the Decameron where he keeps denying her like her things and her children, her family and all this. Mm-hmm. And in this one, he keeps threatening that. And she's like, you're not going to do that.
And like they hate each other. He's obsessed with like current events, potential wars, invasions, right? And a little too obsessed with his sister who died in childhood.
That too, yes.
In a real upsetting way.
Incest also a common thing and trope in medieval times. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not that surprising. No. Masetto, obviously, there's this whole scene with the hair where, Nick Offerman catches him, but he doesn't know who it is. So Masetto runs into the room with all the other guys who kind of work for Lurko. He cuts off the hair of Dave Franco, and it's like, I'll deal with you in the morning. So Dave Franco cuts off everyone else's hair in the same spot. So Nick Offerman's character can't identify which one actually is sleeping with his wife.
Except then, again, poor Dave Franco is just everyone's plaything.
Yes.
Gets caught in a very aggressive manner despite saying no multiple times.
Right. Yeah, well, she's just like throwing herself at him.
Yes.
I like the line where she picks on him about the twigs.
Yes.
You need to pick up your twigs.
Yeah, you dropped your twigs. Yeah.
And he gets out of there and obviously goes and runs into the priest, first of all, played by John C. Reilly.
Yeah, so Tommaso.
They've taken all this embroidery from the nuns and they're going to go sell it in town.
But Father Tommaso has a drinking problem. Even before Macedo comes along.
Right, and he's claiming that he had to drink the wine because he ran out of water.
Yes.
Which we know is nonsense, especially later in the film. And they kind of makes a deal like, hey, I'll let you, you can come stay at the convent.
Yes, because the groundskeeper has left at this point.
Right.
So like Syd talks about earlier, this interaction that, again, after Alison Brie's character kind of snaps after that meeting with her dad, they all kind of attack the groundskeeper, and Alison Brie has some words with him, and that's his breaking point. I don't know if Syd wants to talk about that kind of like altercation, the breaking point, and that I think is sort of like a pivot. Not to put it on you, but that's like a pivot, right? Where they're all like attacking this man.
It's so crazy. It's so much.
Well, because they have nothing else to do. I'm like, you can see them, like, they don't care about this man. They are so bored, and it's all they're allowed to like do. It's out of sight.
No, he is like the vehicle for all of their hatred of men, her dad, like men that don't want to marry her. Right. And then Ginevra is just joining in because
all men are perverts.
Yes. Right. One of our listeners reached out to me on Threads about this and was telling me that his background is in medieval studies, I believe, and was saying that this is actually really accurate to how a lot of young nuns were during the Middle Ages, because, if you look, we have access to a lot of their writings. They were there's a lot of cattiness, like a lot of like people pissed off at each other and being catty and behavior you would expect when you lock a bunch of people up together who don't want to be together and be like, be pious.
Yeah. Right.
Dedicate your life to the Lord. Right. Okay.
And one of them snaps, and it gave the excuse to all three of them to just go ham on this guy who,
it's just minding his own business, doing his work,
doing his work, right? But he's hoarding the vegetables, he's hoarding the food. He's a man existing, not cool. And he tells Father Tommaso, like, they just attacked me. The Alessandra accused me of being Jewish. And that's like the biggest where
she called me a Jew.
Yeah. Father Tommaso was like, oh my.
I mean, played for comedy, in a very broad, like comedic way, but also not without some truth to it because of the time period.
Right.
So definitely a deep prejudice a lot of people had.
And again, like a lot of people we talked about the tension of that scene, did not like, it's Alison Brie's, toss out of that at him during that like tirade. Alison Brie, raised Jewish. So
okay. Yeah.
She brought that to the table.
Some personal experience.
Yes. So Mother Maria, we get a sense early on as well that like there may be something going on between her and Father Tommaso. Some like unrequited
there's some longing there.
Yes.
Tension.
And she definitely is like more kind of old school nun that we're expecting, but and there are some older nuns there as well, but definitely like a caretaker for the girls, and maybe runs a little bit of a loose ship that these girls are getting away with this.
Again, like something when I was reading about this, just looking into medieval history, I was like surprised by how much it sounds like a lot of these convents were kind of chaotic.
Yeah.
Like they are not the structures of order that we've been led to believe they were through, the limited histories we've absorbed about them, like in the movies especially. I mean, in the Middle Ages specifically, this is prior to the Renaissance, a lot of times they were chaotic and disordered. So this is not really that unusual.
Right. And I mean, I think she's meant to be portrayed as like strict, but she's pretty kind of like gentle with them.
It's actually a really beautiful performance, I thought, from Molly Shannon. It's very fair. And then she's somebody who came from Catholic school. So like Molly Shannon having a Catholic background, I feel like she was approaching this nun character in a very thoughtful way. Mm-hmm. Molly Shannon's performance was really thoughtful. I think she put a lot of thought into how she portrayed the character. It's neither like over the top villainous, nor is she like an innocent foil or overly pious. It's just very honest, which again is something this movie is doing really well. I think there's a lot of attempts to figure out what the truth is in these characters, which is funny that Catholics would be mad about that, because Catholics love them some capital T truth. But the obsession with the truth is about church teaching and like dogma more than it is about actual like honesty and genuineness and truth.
Yeah,
a lot of the time.
She's like a stressed out house mom.
Right.
Like she's handling their financials and stuff like that. It becomes more apparent throughout the film that like Father Tommaso, not capable of anything. Like
no.
you talked about meant to go into town with the donkey, sell those fabrics after the groundskeeper's out, and can't even do that. Need to bring the money in, right? Because Fred Armisen's character is going to be coming. We hear about that early on, later on in the film, to like sort of see how things are going, what the money coming in's looking like, and she's stressed out.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think a movie I actually watched in prep for another podcast I went on about talking about Catholic films was The Trouble with Angels, which was surprisingly, it's from the 60s, but it's surprisingly genuine and straightforward with like its depiction of nuns for the era. Mm-hmm. And like, you know, you've got girls who are smoking cigarettes in Catholic school. You've got, they're acting up, they're causing trouble. It was interesting to go from like a family film like that to this, but see the same type of attempts to be honest about the portrayal of nuns and the humanization of them. Now that we've set the stage for the movie, let's move on to Act 2. In Act 2, Macedo settles into life at the convent and the nuns begin interacting with him under the assumption he cannot speak. Their curiosity and frustrations lead to increasingly inappropriate behavior, while Father Tommaso's hypocrisy deepens. Alessandra continues to push for a way out of the convent, and tensions rise as secret desires and rivalries among the nuns begin to surface. Act 2, one of the big things here is the sort of like different mischief the nuns get into.
Because they're like you said, they're all unhinged now, like Alessandra after me with her dad.
Yeah.
Like, and again, we have Macedo introduced to the girls as a deaf mute, so she's just like ranting at him about her dad and like everything she hates in life, and men assuming this man can't hear her, right,
of course. And he, as we know, we have the information, he can hear all of this.
Yes,
which is always a funny trope to play with.
And I think too, and then like before like eventually jumping him, right? Which like Syd talked about, consent. Just because he's a deaf mute doesn't mean consent doesn't exist.
I do love that one of their first interactions with him is Aubrey Plaza threatening him with an axe, and he's supposed to be deaf and mute. Yeah. And he can't do anything.
Who are you? What's your name? Don't you talk?
So good.
And he's like miming things.
He's like, what is this?
Yeah.
What is this? and then Molly Shannon comes in and goes, don't hatchet him. No. It's not going to help us.
I love that she's like, this has happened before.
Right? Like,
not again. Yeah.
Yeah, like this is obviously something they've done before.
Yeah.
Not the first time.
Yeah.
I also love this is happening as they're taking around a young novitiate at the same time who's witnessing this.
Yes.
Who will not, we won't see for the rest of the movie. She'll disappear, which is very funny.
Yeah.
Probably because she saw that happen. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised.
I would bank on it.
Yeah.
We have a lot going on, I think, in the second act and find out a lot more about the characters.
Yeah.
Again, we know that, like, we have Tommaso and Macedo enjoying the, sacramental wine. I had mentioned also that Macedo initially was like, should we be drinking this? And he's like, well, I already blessed it. We can't waste this. And that kind of segues into, like, everybody kind of getting drunk eventually, yeah. After we have Marta pop up out of nowhere.
I do love that John C. Reilly's always like, okay, we're gonna go to confession now. Like they're going to confession every day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do you think this guy got into like between? But it's funny because he did.
There's a lot, and like when and it's so funny too. Like when Macedo, Dave Franco has his first confession.
Yes.
And it's good. Just all these, and like just very detailed with Bruno's wife, right? Of like the things they were doing is like, oh, well, I thought this was sodomy. Well, yes, that is as well. And like, well, what if, she had her mouth on my sex and I had my mouth on hers.
And I will say this 100% priests have had to listen to these.
Right. And like Tommaso's trying to cut it off of just like, it's all bad. It's all just one, and I talked about this on another podcast, but maybe for Syd to hear, like for confirmation, we went on like a retreat for a weekend. It went every way it could go wrong. It went wrong.
Yep.
My church was banned from going back to this to
Holy Hill.
Yep.
The Basilica.
Yes.
I mean, a famous landmark.
Yep. TP'd the priest's headquarters, vandalized the signs of the stations of the cross.
Oh, I didn't know about this part. Oh, that's bad.
Yes.
You guys were bad.
And we,
were you involved or just
No, she was a good girl.
I was a good girl.
Okay.
I was a good girl.
That's what I assumed, but I was like, you're talking about it very cavalierly and you're not excluding yourself. You're saying we, and I was like, am I in mixed company?
I was we would have been friends, maybe. I don't know. I might not have been good girl enough for you, but I was a very good girl that had my prepackaged meals I took with me and was in my room by myself eating my prepackaged meals that my mom made me on my confirmation retreat and just keeping to myself, keeping my nose clean. And we went to confession and we're sitting in like a room in a circle. We have to be quiet and we're going in one by one. And you can't hear what people are saying unless it gets loud enough. So we're sitting there and it's like you're meant to think about what you're going to confess and then reflect afterwards. So I'm thinking like I'm going to be like, oh man,
examination of conscience?
What?
An examination of conscience? You guys get the slips?
Yes. Yep.
Huge fan of the slips. I was like,
I forgot about that. It's been a minute. Yeah, it's been a minute for me.
Well, like, again, I'm this, like, naive little... I was a little bit of a prude when I was in high school and stuff still. And so I'm just like... I told my mom I hated her the other day. Meanwhile, the person I was rooming with goes in there, and I hear which she was the sweetest, and said you might have slut-shamed her in the past.
Syd, why did you do that?
Because other girls on this trip were. But she was so sweet, and she goes into confession, and we are all just sitting quietly, and we hear the priest yelling, and we just hear slut being said like 3 times.
Oh my God.
And she was kind of telling me that night like what she was saying, but essentially just talking about like just handing out blowjobs left and right and all this stuff and like exploring your sexuality and all these things, and how she was teaching like girls on this trip how to masturbate. And I'm just like, I can't hear this.
I mean, if the church is going to teach you how to do it, you got to learn it somewhere.
Well, yeah. So priest not happy, put a real damper on our whole confessional thing. So I found it was, that was a weekend to remember. Oh man, when it was our actual like, our parents had to come pick us up the next day, and our parents were warned ahead of time, like, your kids are little shits.
Yes.
These are the things that are happening.
Hell yeah.
And my parents picked me up, like, we know.
Well, you had one night, right?
One night. Yes, this all happened in one night.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's some good work. I mean, you accomplished a lot in that short time period.
But then, like Syd said, she identified with Ginevra. I kind of do too, because then that Monday, we're like back at school and stuff. We all get brought in and interviewed because they were hoping to like break a narc, like find a narc amongst us. Like I was one of them.
Where were you on the night of Tuesday, January the 5th?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it ended up with, us being banned from future visits, and the kids they ended up finding out like who vandalized the priest, like TP the priest quarters and stuff like that, and
because that must be premeditated. Where are you getting all that TP?
Well, janitor's closet.
They stole it from the like dormitory.
Why do I know this?
I don't think like a criminal, so it's hard for me to.
Right? Yeah.
I'm always thinking like a criminal.
So I felt that scene when sweet Masetto, who, and again, like this girl that was confessing, she wasn't like raised super Catholic. This is her first time being involved in like, so we had like catechism classes like on Mondays. It wasn't Sunday school. We did like Monday nights. So this was like her first experience. This was her first confessional in a group setting with other teens. So like I felt that scene with Masetto, like his first confessional, and he's like, I'm not even sure what to confess, so I'm just gonna like give you great detail of all the transgressions I think I've committed.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ginevra, the not even remotely reluctant narc. Yeah.
Yeah, no. It's her vibe.
Yeah.
But also
when we're at the point where she confesses to eating an entire turnip.
Yeah. Which then Aubrey Plaza's character comes in, and she had been listening to confessional and says the same thing, and she's like, well, I don't have anything to confess. I haven't done anything.
I love that because, and I love John C. Reilly's like, well, you have to confess something for this to work. Like,
she's like, I just don't have
Well,
anything.
it was you have to repent. He was like, I know you're a bad girl, but you do have to repent. That's
Right.
that's what the whole point is. That's why we're Catholic. We get to repent, and then it's all forgiven, and you can sodomize again tomorrow.
yeah, sodomy.
Which, right, yeah, because it's the whole, like, Macedo things. It's like, well, we just repent, and then, like, we're going to keep lying, and you're going to keep pretending to be a deaf mute.
I do love that he kept saying, well, that's also sodomy, and that's also
Yep,
sodomy.
it's
Because
all.
because a big thing you hear in the Catholic, with traditionalist and, like, conservative Catholics is they get really obsessed with sodomy, with, like, you know, when you're like, we should be nice to gay people, and they're like, well, what about sodomy? I'm like, you guys know what Catholic married couples do, right?
Yeah.
You know, like, by the definition of sodomy, they're all sodomizing each other, right? They don't like it when you bring that up, but it's true.
And that's pretty much what the takeaway was. It's all covered under the blanket.
It's all covered under sodomy.
Yep.
I enjoyed the whole turnip.
Yeah. Yes. Agreed.
That's how I felt. I was like, I didn't finish my homework on time. I didn't clean my room like my mom asked.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had impure thoughts. Okay, what were they? I like have a boyfriend. Like I wanted to kiss him, and I could just tell that the priest was like, "Oh my god, this poor thing."
I mean, Jesus canonically probably made out, right? Because that's not a sin. And he's hot. He's ripped. He's got good abs. I mean, Jesus probably made out.
He's out of sin unless it's excess. So like,
Right.
get into it. Yeah.
A little bit of fun.
Do you guys ever get that sense though, like you're in Catholic school or in any of your Catholic education, and the teachers were like, I really hope they don't take this thing to heart. Like behind their eyes, like they didn't believe it, but they had to teach it to you.
Oh,
I've come to find out that was the feeling of a lot of the like the history teachers, the science teachers, like the ones who were not teaching religion at my high school. They're like, oh man, you took that to heart. So sorry about that. Obviously, I have a very public, like, I have a show about it.
right.
And people will be like, you believed all that? Like, you weren't supposed to, like, take that in.
See, so like my catechism classes were taught by volunteers, just like from the community. And so
Anybody. They weren't begging anybody.
They were not. One just reeked of whiskey all the time. And he's the one that told me, like,
one.
Which I've also shared before, but like we were traveling for my brother's like AAU basketball, and I didn't go to church that weekend. It's Monday night. And he's like, well, you know, there's like a snowstorm right now. If you die on your way home from catechism class, like you're going to go to hell because you didn't go to church yesterday and you didn't have confession and repent. And I was like, holy shit.
My parents have used that one on me. Like as an adult, like as a 30-something-year-old adult, they used that on me.
But this just like 60-year-old man who has like tearfully told us, a bunch of like at the time 15-year-olds, about being fondled and molested by a priest as a child, but don't worry, he's over it.
Which wild behavior,
right?
by the way. I feel like that's some kind of violation of something. I don't know. Rules.
Is just getting to like teach us about Jesus and then tell me I'm going to crash on my way home and burn in hell.
But see, this is the stuff where I'm like, people criticize this movie and I'm like, have you met actual like practicing Catholics?
Yes.
Can't remember if I've talked about my youth minister on here from high school, but smiley guy, happy all the time. Shortly after college, I get the announcement through the news that he's like on a high-speed chase away from police. Like he had shot a bunch of people in his workplace. So Catholics are human beings. Like, and they can really fuck up bad. So the idea that like these women who were forced into this wouldn't act like this is crazy to me. I just like, of course this happened. And we know that from history.
Right.
Jess, you and I have talked a little bit about the way the framing changes in this movie. About halfway through to a third through of the movie, it kind of changes how they're shooting these characters and these scenarios. What can you tell me about the camera work in the second part of this movie?
So now we see like the sort of more pastoral shots, and the symmetry and the framing from the first act get more disrupted. So as the sisters are kind of behaving more erratically, we're seeing the camera move more frequently. We're seeing some more close-up shots. And the frame's becoming more like cluttered.
Right.
There's less of these like empty hallways and things like that at the convent, this like austerity. There's more like items and things being placed. There's also more like frantic movement and energy and fighting and things like that happening as well. We also start to have like some different themes come in as well. So we get introduced in this act to the forest, right? So we have the character of Marta get introduced to us, who is a witchy friend of Aubrey Plaza's character. So the forest kind of becomes this transitional place, right? So we see the convent as this site of like tradition, rigidity. The forest is kind of this transition. It's dark. They're like weaving in and out of the trees. It's definitely like a metaphor for this more like wilder side to them.
And you could argue that it's a bit of a cliche or a trope, but I also think, you know, if you look at the history of accusations about witches, for example, that's so often tied to sort of not even just actual witchcraft, but just like traditional pagan religion, herbalism, traditional nature practices, for example.
And they're making herbal concoctions.
So it's not like there's not a basis for this. And it's being elevated for the purpose of comedy, which is why I'm fine with it. It's in a drama, it might be a little ridiculous, but because this is comedy, you know, if it were horror, it'd be the same thing. Horror would be like, okay, well, you're elevating this because you're getting at an emotional truth, which is what they're doing here. It's
this transition for them where they literally drop their habits. They're naked in the woods. They're dancing. It's this like freedom for them as well, like from the confinement of the convent. I think also in this act, we see, especially for like the men, the wine cellar becomes kind of like a primary set that we're focusing on. And I think the lighting and stuff in there is really cool. It's a really like intimate space. It's also where like Tommaso and Masetto are sharing their secrets, right, over their wine. And the lighting is just phenomenal. Again, that's just all candlelight she creates that with.
It's a little too nerdy for this podcast, but I would love to know what lenses they're shooting with here and what camera. I would love to know the details at some point, just because.
I do know they were unable to get the camera that they wanted out to Italy, so they Quintran had to use a different camera.
Like you said, as it gets more chaotic later on, you also notice more handheld work.
Yep.
So you're getting that kind of like jostling and like feeling, and you see a lot of that when you're out in the woods in Act 3 as well. So yeah, it's just this movie, like, it's shot better than it deserves to be, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Just when you think of comedy, you don't necessarily get the camera work in a comedy, right? Or like the thoughtfulness that goes into it, but it does in a good comedy. And this is a great example of that. The camera work really reflects what they're trying to do, and there's like an intent to it.
Yeah, and I think there are some scenes that stand out, some like tableau vivant type scenes, like where we're seeing maybe you could force some like 7 deadly sins or things like that, like Father Tommaso surrounded by the half-empty jugs or scraps of food all over the table and the floor, right? Gluttony, things like that, where the camera becomes a little bit more still. But
do you think there's any lust in this film, or
there's no
not
lust
at all?
in this film?
I think so. We get 6 of the 7 sins.
It's too bad. We're so close to rounding it right out.
Yep.
Because we got gluttony, sloth, lust, avarice, or avarice and greed are kind of the same, right? Envy.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's in the box? No, that's 7.
Jealousy's not a sin, right?
We got envy, wrath, sloth, gluttony, greed, lust, and pride.
Pretty sure we got all the sins then. That's pretty much all 7, right? Yeah. And as we talked about, that number did vary over time. I believe it was originally 8 sins, and then they combined them. I don't know. Not my.
Very economical of them.
I just want to be the guy. How do you get to be the guy in charge of combining the sins? You're like, you know what? I think we can narrow this down to 7. Let's just minimize a little bit. Like, we'll simplify, make it easier to figure out what sins we are committing. Well, moving on. In Act 3, the situation escalates as Masetto becomes involved with multiple nuns, leading to jealousy and conflict. His true identity is eventually revealed, creating chaos within the convent. Authority figures intervene, but rather than restoring order, the film resolves with the characters largely continuing their behavior, underscoring the ongoing lack of discipline and structure in the convent. So yeah, this is kind of like where all hell starts to break loose. You have Fred Armisen show up as the bishop in this act in a great cameo.
Right.
Incredible performance.
So good.
Yes. Brief, but phenomenal. We've already talked about...
What are you guys doing?
What are you doing?
He's like, no, when Molly Shannon and Tommaso have that beautiful, and John Cena have that beautiful moment where they look at each other like, what are you doing? Stop looking at each other. Do you just give her a knowing glance? A knowing glance?
I love that. I love that. He's like, are you giving her a knowing glance?
Is that
Because right, like he's condemning their relationship, but really their little like love story when it's like juxtaposed with the nuns is so sweet.
It reminded me a lot of there's the famous Saint Francis of Assisi and Claire, I believe, who had the kind of like unrequited love, like the perfect love of like a brother and sister for each other.
So did you see the like alternative film poster for this with the St. Francis of Assisi and the actors' faces just really crudely like cut out like a serial killer and pasted onto Love That, and that was banned. Like they wanted that poster banned from. Yeah.
No, I do love. I just think of that story of the two of them, and that's always kind of been painted as this perfect example of love because they can't be together physically.
Right.
But they can have that like perfect love of God for each other, which is very beautiful in its own way. I mean, in this film, they make out.
Yes.
Which is a little different.
Sure.
But it also still feels innocent to a modern audience, I feel like, which is like the intent, right? Like, it doesn't feel dirty. It doesn't feel inappropriate, even though like I guess we're told it's inappropriate by the church, but it does. But
it doesn't feel.
No, it doesn't feel dirty.
It doesn't feel that way. And you have that juxtaposed where again, like we have Marta come in and kind of throws everything off, and we have the girls drinking, and it starts out kind of like just like slumber party-ish.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
A little sleepover energy. They're all like telling each other their secrets. I was like, that's girlhood that they never got.
Mm-hmm. Yes, in Alessandra's big room, they're all jealous of.
I love when they start singing together. They start singing like madrigals or something. I don't know. Like,
and Marta's like, "What the fuck?"
And Marta's like, "No." Mm-mm. I feel like that's the only time Aubrey Plaza smiles.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And
I'm also obsessed with that like knee-length wig they have her in.
Beautiful, with the perfect little braids.
So good.
Yes.
The one with the two little braids.
Yeah. Yep. And
very good styling.
We see like Ginevra finally kind of come out of her shell this night, where at first she kind of busted and is like, "What's going on here? This isn't allowed." Mm-hmm. And they're like, "Come on," got drunk, and we find some things out about Ginevra that we probably knew already. There were hints of, but
I think that's a very familiar like feeling. I think to Catholic kids who grew up trying to obey the rules is like, those people didn't want to exclude you. Yeah. Most of the time, a lot of times it's like when you confront them, you realize like, oh, they actually wanted to include you. You just have a stick up your ass. Yeah. And a chip on your shoulder.
And you can see she has like, even before this, you don't know if it's an obsession, admiration. She wants to be her. She's in love with her, like with Fernanda, with Aubrey Plaza's character. And they're all kind of like, Marta and Fernanda initiate it. Right.
Right.
The kissing. And then Ginevra is very drunk.
Yes.
Very drunk.
Very much so.
And again, they're having these conversations of just like, like Marta is just that little temptress, right? Just talking to her about like, you've never been touched by a man or anything like that. And like, oh my God, it's the best feeling ever. And going into this detail and then start kissing, get Ginevra involved in it. And Ginevra's like, I'm too drunk for this.
Yeah.
So Fernanda takes her to her room where they
yada yada yada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. From the Seinfeld yada yada yada. I'm tired today. Is what Ginevra said. And if Syd wants to talk about this again, because she brought it up earlier of this sort of like what happens between the two of them and how Ginevra's feeling the next day and that kind of like spurned feeling. Yeah,
I can talk about that for sure.
Or whatever you want to talk about.
Really? I mean,
no, I did. I just like, there is so much, I think it's interesting. I feel like in this time, and you can correct me, it seems like we've got a lot of degrees between the two of you going on.
Useless, as we clarified.
Useless degrees, as we clarified.
Yeah. I was like, I have a lowly fashion merchandising degree, which unfortunately quite useful, and I'm employed in my field. I'm so sorry.
Hey, my mother has a fashion merchandising degree, so
I didn't know that was a degree you could get.
Respect.
No one told me it was an option.
That was all the way back in the 70s.
It's been sponsored by Kohl's, like our whole department.
And she worked for Kohl's at one point.
Well, that's high fashion right there, so I can't complain about that. I got Kohl's cash I got to spend. I mean, we love Kohl's cash.
It seems like the importance of sex is like not something that happens in this medieval time. Like, it's sodomy, sure, or it's like sex outside of marriage, sure, but it doesn't seem like there's this importance put on it, like after marriage. All of your hang-ups about it, they go away magically overnight.
Right.
The ring goes on your finger, and you're going to feel so comfortable in your body. Just you wait. Like, that narrative, the purity culture stuff isn't there, but explicitly. But I like that Ginevra is our representation of that in the film. Like, that is a very important aspect of growing up Catholic, being, essentially in ways I felt cloistered. I lived in my little suburban bubble, and then I got to college and I was like, what is going on? Is that what you wanted me to
No, that's actually perfect, because like that's Aubrey Plaza's attitude is very much like what you were seeing at college, where Ginevra the next day, like, she assumes that means there's something more, and there's something more there. And she's like, I had a lot of fun. Like, let's talk about it. Here's how I'm feeling. And Aubrey Plaza's like, it was fine. Like,
no, I mean, I definitely had that experience. Like, I had almost been married at a very young age in my early 20s in college. Like, the first person I ever dated.
Does Kelly know this?
Yes, Kelly knows this. Jesus.
I'm just trying to start drama.
No, but like, the first person I dated ended up almost marrying. Didn't, thank God. She's a great person. It's just, not a good idea. I was 20. I was too young. I'm still
growing to do.
I still have growing to do. It's a miracle I'm married, honestly.
Also, yeah, for clarity, his wife is my childhood best friend.
So we're looking at each other right now, and she's giving me shit. Like, I was engaged, and like, I think about after that period, like living in a big city, living in a world that is very much not Catholic for the most part, like, working in entertainment, music, lighting, whatever. But like, you're dating people at bar, you meet at bars and stuff, and so like, you go out with somebody on a date, and like, you might try to hit them up later, and they'd be like, yeah, we'll see you around. And I'm like, I don't know how to navigate this. Nobody's giving me the tools to navigate, like,
They don't teach you about rejection.
No, they don't. And like, how to navigate that. And you're like, but I'm trying to, I want to be a good husband and raise sires and, like, be a good Catholic boy and have lots of children, like, I wasn't thinking that at that time, but I'm just saying, like, that's how you're raised. So like, in your head, you're like, even if you don't want that, it's like, in your head, you're always dating to like, with the intent to like marry and settle down, I think. Took me a long time to figure that out, that it's like, okay, you can't like just date people because you have this problem where everything is like, you're seeing like 10 years into the future because of growing up Catholic,
Oh my God, is this why I have so many friends right now, like in our mid 30s, that have gotten divorced, and they're just like, I'm just having fun and dating around.
Yes.
And I've got a roster and I'm just having a good time because
probably. Yeah, because like you come out of high school, and like the idea is like, you're going to get married as fast as possible to somebody who's Catholic and pop out like 6 children as fast as possible. And, I fucked that up and didn't end up doing that.
Dirty 30s.
True story. I've never dated a Catholic seriously. I've never been in a relationship with a Catholic, which is hilarious.
I have not.
Even as a practicing Catholic.
Even while attending Marquette, I did not date a Catholic.
Marquette, but yeah, fine. Okay, sure. It's not like it's Steubenville. I mean.
What?
Yeah, it's not Franny.
To be fair, Franny is a den of sin from what I've heard from everyone who's gone there.
No, I'm just saying that like, even at like Marquette, I did not date a Catholic.
Yeah.
And
there were plenty of them around.
There were more cokeheads than there were
The nuns could have hooked it up for you. They could have been like, oh, there's this nice boy I know. He doesn't do cocaine.
I did not interact with nuns in my time there.
Interesting. I mean, it's mostly priests.
I had one that taught my mandatory theology class, and the first day I was like, who's this Jesus guy and what's the big deal? And she didn't like it.
Did you literally say that in a college course?
I did, because I was the only one in the class that came from public school, so I was shamed for that.
Oh, that's...
Yeah.
Wow. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I went the other way. I went from private high school to public, cheap, affordable public college, because that's all I could do.
Yeah, when I did the education to cost comparison, I left Marquette after a year.
Yeah, so no, that's why I'm glad I dropped out of Columbia for grad school, honestly. It was too freaking expensive. So anyway.
But back to Ginevra.
College. Useless degrees.
I was going to say, what I think is beautiful is that even without that narrative imposed on them. It's still a very human emotion to either want to be casual or be deeply committed immediately.
Yeah.
And I think that's beautiful.
Yes. And also, I, as a girl, appreciate Ginevra's kind of revenge plot against Fernanda.
Yeah.
After she's spurned.
I mean, fair.
Right? Because we have... yeah, exactly.
Right.
And so we have Fernanda. She's kind of the witness to everything that happens, right? Throughout the film. She's always lurking. And so she sees Aubrey Plaza pretty much attacking Dave Franco, right? Sexually and with a blade, her and Marta, and then lure him out to the woods, right?
Yeah. No, that is true.
Or wait, she hasn't lured him yet. She's just like she jumps him. Yes. She jumps him. And Ginevra witnesses this. And before that, like Aubrey Plaza is with Marta, and they're so Fernanda and Marta are out in the woods. They're making this concoction, pouring it in her eyes, telling her to make sure not to get into her mouth. Right. Obviously, they're doing some kind of like ritual. She goes and jumps Dave Franco, who, again, still playing the whole deaf mute thing, but just at first is really freaked out, but then there's like a three-way happening. He's into it now, right?
All right.
He gets into it right as they abruptly end it.
It's like you could just ask me. I mean,
yeah, right.
Honestly,
I mean, I can't hear you, but you can just ask.
Yeah.
And we have Ginevra seeing this, and then I think like there's some repression of her feelings of like, I like women, and her confession drunkenly that night before too. And so she remakes the concoction, but she drinks it.
Whoops.
She's seeing angels.
It's like she's on acid.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's just hallucinating.
It has
left
fucked
and right.
her up. Yes.
Yeah.
Quite good. My favorite part is the like cuts her hand. So like, again, for the blood, ritual portion, Fernanda and Marta, like Marta takes a little bit, puts a little rosiness with the blood, like on Fernanda's rouge. Cheeks. Like, we got to make you look nice. So Ginevra, huge cut and just cakes blood on both of her cheeks. It just looks like
clown makeup.
Yes. And is going into Mount Dave Franco looking like this. High as a kite.
Yeah. And this whole thing happens. I love when she ends up like screaming down the hallway with the makeup on, and wakes up the bishop, and she's like screaming about how like she's not a Jew.
And she's like, I have secrets. I like sex with girls. I'm not. And she says like she's secret. Right. I'm Jewish. Oh my God, I'm seeing angels.
Right. So all this stuff is coming out.
And then she just starts like spewing out all of the things that everyone's doing, right? And just like confessing all of the sinning that's going on, right? And enter Fred Armisen is coming in, and Ginevra, we talked about this with Syd earlier about like she's kind of the one who gets punished the most, where Fred Armisen is out there and just listing off all of her grievances. I love when he's just like, I've never had
a list of sins this long. I never had.
What does he say? Writing in your own blood, using blood for ink. What is the exact line? He's like, I've never had to write this before. Imagine how I feel writing this down.
It's so true.
I go, he's like, I'm the victim here because you guys were crazy.
Like the fact that they hold a tribunal in the chapel is hilarious to me. That feels like incorrect, but also I could see that happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It feels like would they do this in an actual church, like a chapel, or would they do this somewhere else? But also, it like the setting is so good.
He's judge, jury, executioner.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Yeah, I mean, but it's one of those things where I don't care because it looks good.
It's Nightshade that they ingest. But anyways, I
thought they said belladonna.
Isn't that what Nightshade is?
Oh yeah, I guess it's the same thing.
I think it's the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
As a practicing witch, I'm kidding.
Tomato.
Mom, I'm kidding.
Tomato.
But it's like she's listing off too. She's like blasphemy, theft. Also, like at this point, we see items start to accumulate inside the convent too, which are things that Ginevra's stealing. So we see those start to. Again, the turnip pops up. There's like loaf of bread, but other like items. Right, her carnal desires. She hates Fernanda and Alessandra because they're annoying.
Yes,
she's obsessed with being pure. The best line from the film to me is the claim that she's possessed by a very sexual demon. Right.
Yes.
Which again, a nod to medieval art and, you know, the grotesque, and this idea of like any sexual or carnal desires of usually women being depicted as demonic in art.
That is true.
Phenomenal.
Do you want to talk about the donkey? I guess the donkey was pregnant.
Really?
Well, yeah,
because I mean, donkeys are, and especially in the Decameron too, like the donkey is supposed to be like a symbol of like base instinct.
Okay, I guess this donkey didn't want to do shit in this movie though. Aubrey Plaza was like, the donkey was pregnant. It was not happy. It was just like, it just wanted to chill and not do anything. So I guess it was really hard to get the donkey to do anything in the movie, which is sad and funny, but the donkey was cute.
I think that fits.
Yeah, I did like the donkey. It was having a good time.
I think, yeah, and I think it fits like, I think the donkey's a good representation of like monastic life, the drudgery, the chores and all of that. But then, yeah, like even in the Decameron and medieval art and architecture, the donkey usually symbolizes like carnal or base instincts. And things like that, and pops up in stories. So I think it's interesting that this donkey was pregnant.
Yeah, that is actually.
It's very fitting. And I mean, Christian symbolism too. That knowing glance between them at the end of the film, right? As Tommaso and Maria are hiding after the smooch on the bridge, and they're leaving, and Aubrey Plaza and the donkey have a moment. I
love the scene where she's just brushing the donkey, and the donkey's just chilling.
Yeah.
But that's what some of the nice pastoral touches of this movie, where it just lets us breathe a little bit. Mm-hmm. So much filmmaking now is so just like beating you over the head and trying to get to the next thing. And I think this movie does a really great job of being a really funny comedy that's crass, that also like gives these like very almost like Tarkovsky kind of moments of just like letting us breathe, letting us take in what's happening. You feel like you're in this environment. Like it gives you the feeling of being out in this monastic sort of setting. And I think that's really beautiful. You know, when Molly Shannon and John C. Reilly kiss, that's such a sweet scene. It caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting that, but it is a really beautiful, sweet scene. And again, in no way does that feel crass or vulgar. Right. It feels really genuine. And like, of course, these two feel for each other. They live together. They work together. They're practically married, you know? So it's not surprising they would have some kind of affection for each other. And sure, are they not supposed to do that? Yeah. But like, you know, pregnant nuns are a thing that happens sometimes historically. So
true.
It's real. It's reality. If you don't like reality, I guess don't watch the movie. But like, it's not like it's unrealistic. These things did happen, especially during this time period. So, yeah.
I think we've covered that the Catholic Church likes to deny
the Catholic Church does reality. Not like real. You know, as someone who grew up reading books from McTan and Ignatius Press, can concur. So let me ask the three of you. Let me ask the two of you. So let me ask the two of you.
Jesus is in the room.
Jesus is in the room. Yeah. He's the third you. He can't respond, so we'll just assume his answer. Let me ask the two of you. What does this film get your imprimatur? What did you think of the movie? I will start with our guest, Syd.
What is imprimatur?
What kind of Catholic are you, Syd? Leave. No, just kidding.
She still is the best of us.
She is the best of us. No. So the imprimatur is it's a seal. It's a papal like statement, basically on if a book is released that it talks about Catholic theology, it's like the seal of approval from the Vatican, from the Pope, being like, this is theologically sound. We don't use it that way because
it's coming from the papal see,
right?
When he's infallible.
Sure. I'm not exact. Yes, I think the idea is like it's notating something which is theologically sound.
Yep.
From my understanding, I could be wrong about that because I'm not a theologian. I'm doing my best to be a good Catholic boy.
I'm so sorry. Is this a bit?
It's a bit.
Or is it like it's the bit? Or I'm like, no, this actually was pretty theologically sound.
No. So we jokingly call it the morally offensive imprimatur. Do we like this movie or not? The imprimatur is if I really like a movie. Sometimes I'll be like, I don't know if I quite give it my imprimatur because I feel weird recommending this movie to people, but I do think it's worth watching. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's how I would use it. Like if you really like this movie, it gets your imprimatur.
Okay, so circling back, this absolutely gets my imprimatur. It even gets a little heart on Letterboxd, which is I think a modern day imprimatur.
There you go.
It is.
I think it's very human. It's very beautiful. I watched it as a prude growing up. Got so stressed. And I find it beautiful that I've had the growth that I've had, that I got stressed out for different reasons.
Oh.
And that's growth. Yeah. In the almost 10 years since. Yeah.
We love that for you.
2026 Syd was more worried about consent and Dave Franco, and I love that.
Being more worried about a Franco is always a more moral position to be in. So
this Franco, yes.
Well, also, I was like, Ginevra's really drunk. She can't.
Yes. And this is her first time.
More anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Those Franco brothers.
Right. And she wanted it to be special because she wanted it to never happen at all.
Obviously, yes, it gets. I agree. I second what Syd said. It's a very humanistic tale, I think. And also, like, we cannot deny the fact that this is based in historical fact.
Yes, although the Catholic reviews would try to deny that.
But they didn't watch it.
They didn't watch the movie. Well, okay, Bill Donahue didn't watch the movie, to be fair.
Sister Rose did.
Sister Rose did. We stand Sister Rose's commitment to the bit.
We do.
I give it my imprimatur. I think this movie is a really funny movie. I love a movie that is respectful to and like engaged with history and literature. David on Blank Check was talking about how he loves a movie that sends him down a Wikipedia rabbit hole afterward. And this is a movie that did that for me, where I was like, okay, so like, what were they using from the Decameron? What are some of the historical details? And I was surprised by things that I didn't realize were historically accurate in this movie.
Yeah.
That I thought were just part of the improv. And there were bits where I was like, oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. So like convents, a lot of convents were kind of chaotic in the Middle Ages. And like these people were kind of embarrassments to like the actual like people dedicated to the cause and to the religious life. There was a big problem with that.
Yeah.
And that really gave me context for the movie. I think it helps watching the movie to have that context going in because you understand better what they're commenting on. And I think it's cool that they use the vernacular of now, because knowing what I know now about Boccaccio and the Decameron, it's like, it makes total sense to have them saying fuck a bunch in this movie and using modern vernacular. So yeah, I love this movie. I thought it was a good time. I'd watch it again. I might actually want to own it. It's a good rewatch, I think. So
I think so.
I watched it twice for this episode. I'm not tired of it. So yeah.
It really hits. It's really funny. And thanks for having me on and making me rewatch it.
Well, you suggested this to us, Syd. So thank you for the suggestion. Thank you for reaching out. Thank you for finding us and telling us about you, because I've really enjoyed like listening to you on Leave, Laugh, Love. I would love to see your show one day if you come to Wisconsin or Chicago. So hopefully we can make it next time. And let me ask you real quick, where can people find you if they want to know more?
If you want to know more, the best place to find me is Instagram. I'm at Syd_the_King, SYD. And that's kind of where all my stuff is housed, including photos of me in the Easter parade or on SNL.
Do you have anything going on soon? Are you going to be taking your show out again on the road, or is it going to be a minute?
St. Sidney's a little bit retired as I'm working on another thing right now. Ooh. I don't think it's gone for good, but I'm leaning hard into puppetry. So I'm working on a new entirely puppet show.
I love puppets, so that sounds fantastic.
Well, and puppets are having a moment. In the age of AI, what we need is puppets.
That's true.
So I'm very excited about that. But I'm also on a sketch team called Fun in Moderation. And we just did DC Sketch Fest. We've performed around the country. So follow us there. And then we're regularly in New York City. So follow Fun in Moderation if you want to see me like very soon.
Excellent. If I come to New York this year, I'll have to come out and try to see your show. That would be fun.
Yeah.
I am so
Let me know when you're coming, because I'll work something out and I'll be on a show.
Heck yeah.
I am so excited I have to say, I'm excited for the puppets. I cannot wait. And I need to, there is a puppeteer. I think her name is Sophie on TikTok.
Or she's the puppet of herself.
Yes, and she had like her ex-boyfriend and stuff. So I think it's like Sophie Trow or something. And I'm obsessed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you see the one that she just posted where the puppet's smoking the cigarette?
Yes. So I am so looking forward to this. So
I need to check that out too.
I know. When I did my show last year, every single time I did it, the puppet kept getting a more and more expanded role, and I was like, I think I just want to do a puppet show.
Why not?
They're like, why isn't there more puppet? I love when the puppet comes out. And I was like, no, I hear you. I kind of just fell in love with puppetry, so I'm working on that. So
that's
stay tuned.
amazing.
That's phenomenal. I have to tell Hans. So my husband works a corporate job, but he hosts calls and does themed calls and things like that. And he has a puppet of himself that he hosts like corporate calls with.
I love that.
So he will also be very excited for this.
Oh, that's so fun. Oh, I love that.
Well, Syd, thank you again so much for joining us. Everybody, if you want to know what we are up to, you can follow us at Morally Offensive Pod on TikTok, Instagram, Threads, and YouTube. We also have the website, www.morallyoffensive.com. That is where you will find our merch store. And we have merch for this season, the Filthy Habit season. We have all kinds of cool nun-themed merch, most of it pretty offensive, but tasteful at the same time. A lot of times you don't even know it's offensive until you look closely at it. We also do have still some hot pre-summer stuff up from last year. And we have our normal branded logo merch up as well. We have hats, shirts, hoodies, all kinds of stuff. And also, the website does host our podcast, but please make sure to rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite podcast provider. Detailed reviews would help too. Just being like, hey, I like this show because I'm ex-Catholic and I like dirty movies. Something like that helps us. It just lets people know what we're doing and what's going on. So yes, please check out our website and follow us on social media at Morally Offensive Pod. Join us next time as we'll be continuing our Filthy Habits series with a nunsploitation film from the director of RoboCop. Yes, RoboCop. Join us next time as we dive into ecstatic visions with Benedetta. Thanks again for listening, and as always,
Go and sin no more.